Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm glad that you braved this weather. It could have been snowing, I guess, if it had been a little bit colder. We're here today to share the findings from the campus dialogues that were held last fall. We know what our brand is, and one of the purposes of the dialogues was to help us find the language and help us get down to what the core of the university means to us so that we can communicate it more effectively. We had a lot of fun doing it. I was in one of the sessions. And for those of you that may not have been there, the reporting out sessions was a highlight of the process. We also know the quality of the education that we provide here at the university. I think that one of the advantages of what we've done, and I worked with the ID group and participated in a session that they did for the Trent Lott Center for Economic Development, is they have a very effective way and a very unique way of pulling out from those who already know what the core messages are and showing us where we agree. And I think that you will see today that the result of what we did last fall was well worthwhile, and you will pretty rapidly see how some of it's being implemented by the university. Now I want to introduce Gail Spruill-Shaw. Gail was recognized as Outstanding Alumna of the Year in 1994 by the university and was named by the Clarion Ledger at the centennial of the university as one of the top 25 alumni. She was the founder of the first female-owned advertising agency in the state of Mississippi and has been recognized for her creative excellence with a multitude of awards, most notably 5 Clio nominations for broadcast and print campaigns. Gail is now the Senior Creative Director at ID Group, where she is mentoring the next generation of creative stars. It's my pleasure to introduce a proud alumna of the W, Gail Spruill-Shaw.
Thank you, President Borswick. It's a pleasure to be on the stage here at the W. The last time I was on stage here was 1994, so it's an honor to be here with you today and all of you. Greetings. Greetings. It's a great day to be in Mississippi. It's great to be back home in Mississippi. It's a wonderful day to be in Columbus. Thank you for the rain. Thank you for the puddles. Some of them are in the same place they used to be. But it's an especially good day to be at the W. My time at the W was a transformational time. My parents were originally from Mississippi. And it came a point in time where they decided, you know, we need to move back home near where our aging parents are. So us kids, we had lived in Atlanta. At this point in time, we were living in Jacksonville, Florida. And we're hearing, we're moving to Mississippi? And the answer was, yeah. So we moved to a farm in rural Attala County. Now this is Atlanta, Jacksonville, rural Attala County. Halfway between Kosciuszko and Durant, if any of you know those two places. And it was dark. I was used to street lights. But I was a college student at the time. I was a freshman. I had been to a liberal private university. Next semester, I was at a private religious college. And I needed to transfer sophomore year because I was going to be in rural Mississippi. So my dreams of New York hadn't happened yet. It was real interesting because my great Aunt Grace lived near us. And she, my dad and mom, brought me up here to tour the W. And Aunt Grace was a music major here at the W back in, I think, the 20s or 30s. And she walked me all over the place. And this morning, I was putting on the makeup, getting ready and all, and I said, you know, I'm going to be on the same stage that great Aunt Grace probably played her recital. And decades later, I'm up here, and I have absolutely no musical talent. So y'all don't have to worry there. But anyway, all of this change was a cultural shock. And when I came to the W, it was a radical cultural shock because it was a state-supported women's college, and there were no guys around, so it was very different. It was a small town. We had the one TV station, and it was just different. But anyway, to make a long story short, Everything here at the W turned out spectacular. I didn't know one person when I came to this campus, and I knew a lot when I left. It was so cool to know people that live all over the state, because people from all over the state came here, and you now had a network for the rest of your life. Coming here and being in an environment was supportive and challenging and extremely generous to the development of every student's potential. It was a blessing for me in more ways than I ever could have imagined. And one of the interesting things is the W teaches us students to be driven, and you'll find this true if you're a freshman, fearless and passionate. And so I'm graduating with my fearless passion, and I have an extra $50. Now, I have a job right out of college, an 8-to-5 job as a production artist. I also have a 5:30 to 10 p.m. job at Alice Chalmers in the engineering department as an inker. And then I went home and did freelance till 3 a.m. So when you get tired of this and you have an extra $50, you want to start a business, right? So I had a partner. She had an extra $50. And we decided, okay, we can't keep doing this, because she was doing the same thing. Let's start a business. And we wanted to be an advertising agency. So we go with our $50, combined $100, and pay our commercial phone bill deposit, and it was $100, so sort of zero. So that was really interesting. But to make a longer story short, it was the first women-owned advertising agency in the history of the state, and probably in the immediate Deep South. And when we started with that original $100, in about 5 years, we'd grown to 10 people, and we were billing $2 million. So we figured that that was okay. And for decades, I've worn many hats over all the years. I've been a graphic designer, art director, chief bottle washer, chemical changer for the camera, and a president. But one of my dreams all these years was to work on the W's account. I wanted to make a difference. I said, I have all these talents and awards and accolades, and why can't I work on the university that I went to and make a difference for their students? And I'm thrilled to have the opportunity, and I hope y'all will be excited with what you see. On behalf of the ID group team, I want to say thank you for this opportunity and to help shape the W brand. While several members of ID group are here today, there's a whole bunch of others back in Pensacola, Florida, that worked on the project. Very talented people, and we all had a great time. Now, our assignment was to conduct a series of core dialogues to uncover the authentic, that's a key word, authentic brand of the W, and to provide a visual approach that would capture the spirit of the brand. So now I would like to introduce our senior consultant and president of ID Group, Mona Amodeo, who has a PhD in organization development. Now, she also possesses a creative bend, which makes working with her really unique. So, Mona, share what we discovered.
Thank you. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, President Borzik. I am just so thrilled to be here today to share with you what we learned, what we discovered. But let me say this. ID Group prides itself on working with things we believe in, things we believe are authentic. And can I tell you that having known Gail, having known she was, an alumna of this university, I knew that you guys delivered, because she is phenomenal and has really contributed to ID Group. So we're just really pleased to have this opportunity, like Gail said, to work with you. I want to begin my conversation with you today with first kind of framing what it is we wanted to do. And I guess it was probably Dr. Borzik, I don't know, back in the summer of 2012, it seems years ago at this point, doesn't it? But back in the summer that Dr. Borzik and I talked a little bit about the new president of the university, and like he said, knew some of the work that we had done with previous and other universities. And he said, look, Mona, it's time. It's time for this institution to tell its story. We have a phenomenal story to tell. We need to get everybody on the same page. We need to tell that story in a powerful way to a lot more people. And of course, this was fantastic for us. As you can tell from Gail, we like to tell stories at ID Group. So to have a chance to help you shape your story was really a big honor. And we never forget the trust you place in us to allow us this opportunity. So thank you. So this morning, first of all, I want to tell you that what I'm going to be sharing with you today are highlights. But the report, this is the actual report. It will be online, and I'm sure there'll be some copies. So just know that there's a lot more detail than I have time to share this morning. So know that that will be there, and I'm going to let you guys hold that. So again, our situation here was a new president, and you guys, we have to be honest. This institution has gone through some change in the past several years. We heard that through the dialogues. And some of that change has created some confusion about who you are. And I'm talking about primarily in the marketplace. You know what we found? Through our dialogues, you know who you are. You know who you are. The job is to really organize that in a way to tell a story to let everybody else know who you are. You're now standing on the other side of change, and you have a phenomenal opportunity at this point in your history to write the next chapter in the story of this phenomenal institution. President Borzig gave us a great opportunity because he said, let's don't just go rush forward, right? Let's just not make this up, but rather let's pause. Let's take some time to reflect. Let's engage all of the voices that make up this institution. And let's discover the story of this university. Using this information, we will help you recast the image, how others perceive you. Before you can talk about building an image, you have to get real clear about your identity. So that's part of what he asked us to help you do. As I said, Dr. Borzig sort of agreed with us. We always believe the answers are in the room. So what we did is we engaged the voices to hear your authentic story. So I want you to know what you're going to hear today is not about writing fiction. This is really about a reflection of what we learned from you about your core identity. What makes this place special, unique? What is it that attracts people here, and what keeps them coming back? So, again, the information that we will be presenting today, think of it as research, as data turned into information that will be used to help you build on your storied past to create a fresh image in the marketplace. So, as I share the findings from this research, please keep in mind, I want you to know this is a mirror back to you about what we learned from you about you. This isn't about a bunch of creative people sitting in the room making stuff up. This is your story. Thus far, the work that we have done is really characterized as research. It is a qualitative research process, but I do want to point out a couple of things. The look on the stage, as well as what you will see in the report, gives you some insight into some of the visual feel we think that you can use to help position the image. And just by the way, Gail was the art director on all of this, so I think no one had a better insight into the institution. So let me go ahead and move forward and say in the next couple of minutes, 15, 20 minutes or so, I want to share a little bit first about why you should care about this process, something about the methodology. You know, the professor in me has to talk a little bit about that, a summary of our findings, and then finally, we'll tell you combined your brand narrative. So, branding, a word that is overused, confused, and most people don't really know what it means. So I want to take just a little bit of time to explain why branding is so important to this institution at this particular point in your history. It is crucial in today's education, in today's world of education. You know, the marketplace is bombarded. You're bombarded with messages, messages, messages. What branding does when it is done well is it cuts through the clutter and it communicates clear differences between the competition and you. In today's economic development, economic climate, I think you will agree with me. Universities must compete. I won't tell you how long ago I taught, but back then branding, I don't even know that we had that word in the marketing department. But you have to compete. You have to compete for resources, for programs, for faculty and students. In summary, forgive the pun, this is a brand new world in higher education. So ultimately, what are we trying to do? And let me take a moment to show you this. It is essential for this institution to develop what we call mind share. You must own a piece of the marketplace that you're trying to attract. Whether it's students, faculty, staff, they have to hear your name and think about something. We need to cut through clutter. We need to talk about feelings and ideas that are uniquely associated with this institution. I want you to very clearly say, when you do this, what you have achieved is you have achieved, we are, they are not. We are, they are not. If you're able to do that, you will attract the people you want, you will compete, and you will win. And as I said earlier, ID Group believes this is not about hype, this is not about spin, but rather about understanding the authentic qualities that make your organization different from the others, and then effectively communicating that in a way that moves people to become part of your community. So simply stated, all of that to say, brand is simply an equation. X equals Y. Our job at ID Group, through the process that we have, the journey we've been on together in the last several months, was to help you solve the brand equation. W equals blank. So just briefly, a little bit about the branding from the core process and why it was such a perfect fit. And I think as President Borzig and I talked about, it was like, you know, and sometimes this doesn't fit for people. Sometimes we are not a fit, but we were a fit for you guys because you were in a situation that something had to move you to the next level, and the process, I think, will help get you there. So typically, branding from the core is used in one of three situations. One, a new business is born. They don't have an identity. They don't have an image. So we have to build something from the ground up. Second, mergers and acquisitions. Oftentimes two companies come together. Who are they now? This or that. They must come together to a new identity, to tell a new story. In the third instance, which I think is most applicable to your situation here, oftentimes organizations go through tremendous change. Marketplaces change. And they, the organizations, have to create new associations with their name in order to stay relevant, in order to communicate. So I believe that's kind of where we are as we started our journey together. Let me give you an example of what I mean by this third situation. I was thinking about this, and I said, to explain it. If you really think about, and I know the young people in here probably, some of those older might know who this is, but there was a company called International Business Machines that in about 1946, 47, really entered a new market. They needed to change from what was basically the punch card tabulating business to computers. So International Business Machines recast themselves to what we all know today as IBM. It was not about throwing away, but rather building upon. It was about recasting meaning. It was about building on the brand equity, the reputation, to the next chapter of the organization, much of what you're faced with as an institution. So basically, the logo was symbolic, and then what happened is the marketing communication people told the story still of excellence, still of quality, still of technology and advancement, still of innovation, but now it was about building this technology company. So a little bit about the methodology. I promise just a little. What did we do to help you write the next chapter in your story? We used secondary research, right, to understand the trends. We needed to understand what was going on in higher education, and frankly, what was going on with your competition. Because remember, us, them, we are, they are not. And then the second thing we did, which we had just so much fun with, was the dialogue sessions. And the dialogue, how many were in the dialogue sessions? Did we have fun? Okay. So the dialogue sessions, you know, the wisdom of the masses, right? We really engaged a cross-section of your stakeholders. In these dialogue sessions, obviously we couldn't invite everyone. We didn't have the time, space, whatever, but this was a very good cross-section of faculty, students, staff, alumni, business, community leaders. So we really had a cross-section in these sessions. And I have to say, you guys were just phenomenal. You played with us, you were good sports, but ultimately, you shared your hearts. You shared your beliefs, your hopes, your dreams, your memories. And there was such amazing, when President Borza says, we have a brand, you do. You have a story. And what those dialogues did is it allowed us to find the we, not the me, but the we, to find what you agreed upon, and together figure out what was next. So the process, again, used the secondary and primary approaches, and the analysis process, Dane, if we'll go ahead to the next one, just to show you, right, the data, the secondary and primary data was analyzed into themes, and those themes created concepts in two areas. One, the vision and strategic focus, meaning where do you want to go and what do you think you need to do to get there. And then the other is your brand platform. These things together is what really creates your narrative and will also be used by the creative people to tell your story. So just a moment, when we talk about the brand pyramid, these are the elements that define your identity, okay, that define who you are. And just a moment, here just to think, I want to just reinforce. You cannot create a cohesive image if you're not clear about your identity. Think about it. You as an individual, you have an identity. Organizations are no different. The challenge is there's a lot of individuals that we have to bring together to create that collective sense of who we are. So the brand pyramid are the elements, right? The elements of what makes up your identity. Mission, your values, your core strengths, target markets, value proposition, etc. This is the central core of who you are. So let me share with you what we learned from you about you. As I kind of share some of these highlights, again, I'm not going to get in the weeds with you, but the big ideas, as I share this with you, I want you to think about how this information can be used to create that mind share that I talked about earlier. Think about how this can be used to differentiate you from the competition. So the first thing that we look at when we're trying to build brands and when we're trying to understand identity is the same thing you would look at as individuals. What do you stand for? What do you believe in? What are your values? So values, these are the 10 that emerged from the dialogue session. But values are the ultimate things that connect people. It is likely that the people that you will attract to this institution share at least some of these values. So it's very important that as you're shaping messages, as you're talking, that these value messages are part of your communications. The core strengths of an institution really become some of your key communication points, your selling points, if you will. Core strengths must be viewed in relation to two things: your competition and what people are looking for. As far as your competition, 3 categories emerged. 1, the large institutions, the 2 names that emerged as your key competition in those large public institutions, Ole Miss and State. The second category, competition, private institutions, and that included Millsaps, Blue Mountain, and Belhaven. Again, the top ones. There were others, but those were the top. And the third were community colleges, specifically Eastern Mississippi. Okay? So imagine that out there. And in order to attract students, you have to position vis-a-vis them, right? We are, they are not, and also relative to what the students are looking for. So these were some of your selling points. Now, under each one of these in the report, there's a lot of detail. But basically, obviously, physical environment. When we talk about social and psychological environment, can I tell you, that was the strongest thing that emerged in the dialogue. This idea, and Gail talks about it all the time, about her experience here. This connection, this sense of belonging, this sense of attention to the individual and really celebrating the individual, that was huge. And some of the other things, again, very important and can be used as your selling points. And again, in the report, there's details. In universities, organizations like people have personalities, and these were some of the descriptors used to define the personality. Those first, this side over here, were the ones that were dominant. And the first one was tenacious. Okay, tenacious, we heard it. And then resilient, over and over. And this is kind of uniquely Southern. There was a really pride in that. I think it had to do with manners, respect, dignity. Those of us who are from the South believe that at our heart. So this personality, imagine that's part of what needs to be communicated, right? And it's got to be different. You can't look like those other people. You can't look like Ole Miss or Belhaven or anybody. You got to tell this story in a way that is uniquely yours. So, ultimately, this is what it is about. Ultimately, remember that piece of puzzle that I showed you? That we are, they are not. Ultimately, if you are not different, you are a commodity. If you are not different, and if you cannot communicate what makes you different, some of the things we've just shared, you just are in the mass, right? You're just in the masses. I want you to think for a moment when I talk about differentiation. Do you have any confusion about the difference between Apple and IBM? They're computers. No. Not if you're a Mac person. You know, that's part of who you are. You walk around. See, I have an iPad. It's me. Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. Coffee. No. Meaning. Connection. Chevy versus Ford. I know a lot of men that will argue that the difference there. So it's a pickup truck. No, there's a difference. So the information that I've just shared with you really funnels to this statement of differentiation. It says the W versus competition. We can do this better than anyone else, than that competition that I defined. So, everything that I've shared with you so far, when combined, creates what we call position or unique selling points. In other words, when you're out there talking about this institution, what is it that you're going to say you are, that you can really own? And remember about that competition, large institutions, private, the community colleges. The position statement is something that you are and they are not. So if we look at this, we celebrate the promise of each individual, that this is the choice for those seeking a high-quality public university education experience. Students and faculty are attracted to the W, are seeking a more intimate, personalized, 4-year education experience, usually characteristic of private institutions. It is safe, personal, and challenging learning environment for those who seek to distance themselves from the complexity of large institutions. So you can see that you can own this place. People who come here are not looking for what they're looking for at either a community college, at a 4-year institution, public, large, or at a private institution. You've got to sell that. You are unique, very unique. You've got to own it, believe it, and communicate it. So one of the other things that we asked, so let's say we're sitting here 5 years from now. You know, I used to say 20, but that's way too long anymore. But 5 years from now, and we are moving in the direction of your greatest hopes and dreams for this institution. What are your hopes? What are your visions for this place? And this is the statement that we summarized. The W provides a globally relevant, regionally competitive, 21st century educational experience for those seeking a public university experience in a personalized setting with a private university feel. So that was kind of the place people wanted to move to. And guys, if you're able to do this, you're going to do something that no one else is doing. It is a uniqueness that if you can own it, this place has no limits on what is possible. I love visions because they're blue sky thinking, you know, oh yeah. And then it comes down to the heavy lifting, right? But vision to reality requires work. And so the other thing we asked the dialogue participants was help us understand what you think are some of the areas that need to be focused upon in order to achieve that vision, in order to get us positioned. And here are some of the areas. Now, again, just as in the other areas of your core strengths, there's a lot of detail. Now, any strategic planner, which I know Dr. Borzik is the person around that, would tell you you can't tackle all of this at one time. So what this is intended to do is to give you guys a starting point for the next level of strategic planning. What needs to happen is you need to look at all of these areas. They need to be prioritized. Tactics need to be developed. Budgets need to be assigned, timelines, et cetera, all that hard work. But these are the things that the dialogue participants said, we've got to pay attention to these things in order to move us forward, okay? So, in a nutshell, That's what we learned from you. About who you are and about where you go. But when I first started this, I said that this was really, when President Borzig, when we first talked, he said, Mona, we need a story. We need a cohesive story that we can tell the world. So what I want to say is this. You know, through the conversations, this idea of one long blue line emerged. And really, it's phenomenal because it's so symbolic and really is the core of your story. It connects you to where you've been and also to where you have yet to go, where individuals are celebrated, yet together they become part of this long blue line. The brand narrative that we're about to share with you weaves the research findings, all of the great stories and wisdom of the people that were a part of the dialogues. A lot of the information that we've just shared with you, it's weaved together into what we define as your organizational story. The narrative captures accomplishments of the past, as well as your greatest hopes for the future. As such, it is part celebration and part aspiration. A story that is in the process of becoming. It is used to inspire, to motivate, and to inform all external communications, and equally important, to inspire you to create the experience here at the W that is truly reflective of what this narrative communicates. I am proud to present your story, the one long blue line, presented by the many voices of the W.
Since our 1884 founding, the W has been an original, a special place where we believe that being different is good for us and for our state. We have charted our own unique course by responding to the needs of the times, staying grounded in our values, and always looking ahead. Our past, present, and future have this common thread, that it is necessary to embrace a daring idea to achieve a worthy mission. Classy, spirited, colorful, not a flash in the pan. We have grown stronger through many seasons of change. The historic charm of our campus may suggest a genteel Southern spirit, but make no mistake, our history is proof that the W has the determination to preserve and prevail.
While our mission continues to evolve, we maintain the core values of our founders. We believe every individual has unique gifts to share with the world. We believe every individual grow and flourish in the personal, learning-centered environment of the W.
As we turn the page on the next chapter of the W story, we forge a path forward that builds on the rich character and history and core strengths that have always defined us. The future is ours to create. The W will make its way as a distinguished, vibrant institution that provides a globally relevant and regionally competitive educational experience. for those seeking a different public university experience.
We will also build a name for ourselves as an agile university, firmly rooted in tradition, yet ready to respond, as we have throughout our history, to the changing world and the opportunities around us.
We will strengthen our focus on developing leaders who will set the pace for the future, providing them the unique programs and learning opportunities that define a graduate of the W.
We stand proud on the shoulders of our forebears, celebrating our rich and textured past. We look with great anticipation to our vision of the future, a community defined by our traditions.
We're proud of the many contributions of this wonderful institution, its tenacity in the face of challenges, and its creativity in meeting them. It is an institution that will continue to be grounded in tradition and will continue to be big enough to embrace the generations of women and men that make up the one long blue line. As we always have, the W will continue to celebrate the promise of each individual. We will continue to dare, to question, and to challenge. Inspired by the words of Eudora Welty, we will subscribe to the radical idea that all serious daring starts from within each of us. Please sit, but it won't be for long. I promise you, it's close to noon. I'm in love with the future of this university. I said this at Convocation last week. We have great opportunity in front of us. If you look at the history of the institution, we were created to teach, both in an intellectual and practical way, those who were not given the opportunity at that particular point in our history as a state and a country and even the world to have the opportunity for education. We remain true to that today. There are many things or streams of work going on right now. This is probably the river. There are things around enrollment management that are going on that inform what we're doing here, as well as building this brand and marketing it to prospective students. I've said from the beginning, this is about marketing to prospective students. I've talked to our alumni boards and our foundation board who give us great advice and counsel and said, if you think this is going to be marketing it to you, you're going to be disappointed because we're going to market this to students. We have a great opportunity in front of us. We have a great institution with a great story to tell. Henry Nouwen is a writer that I spend more and more time, I think, reading. And one of the things that he talks about is there's always enough light for the next step. May not be enough light to see very far into the future, but there's always enough light for the next step. Some of you may react to what you saw and said, well, this is exactly who we are. Not so much. The reason is we have a large number of students studying online. We have a responsibility from an accreditation and a teaching standpoint that those students have the exact same experience that students who live on this campus do. This university is a different place this minute than when we started. And we're a great university. We have many different traditions spanning many different decades, and these traditions are not in conflict with one another because they are valued in their time and place. But we're building a new tradition on this campus in these classrooms right now. And that is a tradition that we are going to be at work to help manifest in the lives of these students. Everybody who's a student in the room, please stand up. I got lights in my eyes, so I'm not sure I can see all of you. But I want those thank you. I want those in the room to take a look around at our students. These are who we serve every day. These are what the next step in One Long Blue Line means to me, and I think means to our faculty and our staff. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for those that participated in the dialogues, for taking the time to do that. And we're done. Thank you.